Welcome back to your introduction to computer science. Today we're going to talk about variables, operators, conditional statements, and then we're going to make our cat ask a question. We'll start off by talking about variables and how to use them in your computer program. Then we'll talk about how to use operators to compute and compare values. Then we'll discuss conditional statements and how they're used to make decisions. We'll bring it all together and then we'll have our cat ask a question. Variables is much like your memory inside of a human being. It pretty much stores values so that you can remember and reuse those values over and over again. Now the values that variables store can be any kind of data, like a number or a word. Now unlike you and me, computer programs have very good memory. So once you set a variable, you can actually use it again and again throughout your program. Conditional statements are pretty powerful tools that we use in our computer programs. Now conditional statements are essentially things that you use to make a decision. In other words, you do something only if some condition is satisfied. If you see the screenshot here, notice we're showing three different kinds of controls that use conditional statements. Now some of these may look a little familiar to you. The forever if is essentially a loop that uses a conditional statement to continue to do what's in the loop while that condition is met. So how do you determine a condition? Well, basically you use operators to compare values, and that gives you a way to determine whether you should actually do one thing or another in your computer program. So look at this example. If you see the if and the condition there, it pretty much tells the computer that if x is greater than 9, then I will move cat 10 steps. Notice that we set x before this conditional statement to 4 plus 5, which equals 9. So since x equals 9, when you run this program, the computer program will think this. Well, since x greater than 9 is false, I will not move the cat 10 steps. So what makes conditional statements so important? Well, they're actually pretty important in most of our computer programs. And they are because they allow the computer programs to do a lot of essential things for us. It allows Facebook to know when you log in. So when you put in your password and your user information, Facebook should only allow you to see the profile if it's actually you. But what about games? Well, conditional statements make sure that the game knows when and who actually wins the game. And what about iPods and radios and things that do stuff automatically for us? Well, once those things are set by the user, then the computer program needs to make a decision when and how to do the things that it's been programmed to do. These are also conditional statements. So let's use some conditional statements and test our understanding. So we'll go back to Scratch and our friendly friend, cat. So we'll make cat ask a question. Now one thing you can notice that's common to the computer programs we just mentioned is that they all interact with the user. At some point the user has to tell the computer program what type of decisions it needs to make, and then gives information to the computer so that it can make those decisions. So two tools that we'll use in Scratch is the say instructions and ask instructions. And these are ways for us to communicate to the user and then let the user communicate back. So let's do a recap. What we talked about today is what is a variable and how do you use them. We talked about computing and comparing with operators. And then we talked about using this powerful tool called conditional statements to make decisions inside of your computer program. So that's about it for our lesson today. And the next video we'll be talking about how you actually make the cat ask a question using these concepts.